So as you all know, Dennis made the announcement that every year the monks and the nuns have a 3-month retreat period. It's we call a rest period, where all the monks have a nice time and I have to do the work. So the rest of the people have a holiday, that's why it's called a rest period. But it's still I have an opportunity to do some meditation, but also get up to some interesting things. And sometimes you wonder just how is it that you can keep on going at my age when many other people are retired. I had my 67th birthday this year. I'm getting older. Decrepitude is creeping up on me. But you're still working very, very hard. And when I was asked, I just discussed before coming in here about the topic of this evening's Dhamma talk. And of course, that very rarely do I think of a talk before I come and sit up here. But my fellow monks and nuns, they said, why don't you talk about the energy which comes from inspiration? Which is an important little topic, because so often people get tired, exhausted, depressed, they have no energy, and sometimes you take a strong cup of coffee, or a strong cup of tea, or an energy drink, an upper, or whatever it is, some sort of drug to get you awake, alive. But is there no alternatives to that, the chemicals? And of course, there always is. There are times when you don't have any hot water, when you don't have any tea, you don't have any coffee, you don't have any energy drink, you're left to your own resources. And I recall many years ago that, I like tea. And the reason I like tea was because I was born in London. And anyone who's born in England, once you get off your mother's milk, you get onto tea, basically. And so, you were addicted to tea when you were very young. And that's one of the reasons why. As soon as I became a monk, as soon as I went to Thailand, that was why. I was very attracted to Ajahn Brahm. His name meant tea. Cha. Oh, come on. It's not against the rules to laugh, because that's one way of getting some energy. That's also why I love Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, for me, it's one of the great places for Buddhism, great places for cricket, great places for tea. Not in that order, but sort of whatever. But sometimes on this particular rains retreat, just some of my friends were just saying, you're just addicted to tea, Ajahn Brahm, you should give something up. I said, okay, I'll give up tea for a whole 3 months. And just after 1 or 2 days, one of the other monks came to see me and said, please, Ajahn Brahm, don't do that. So why not? He said, because one of my friends, who's also from England, an English monk, he gave up tea for 3 months and it was a pain in the butt every day. And that just really got me going. So I'm going to give up tea. And I wasn't a pain in the butt. Did a lot of good meditation, a lot of good energy. Because it's not just these things give you energy, it's just the inspiration. That is one of the greatest forms of energy which you can possibly have. And the reason I'm giving this talk on this subject is it was just a couple of things I got up to during the rains retreat. Rains retreat was supposed to stay in monastery, but we have this allowance to leave the monastery no longer than 6 days, so it's actually 7 days but 6 nights, if there's something really, really important, some event which I usually ask the monks, should I go to this? In this particular case, they all said, yes, please. And that was when I received an invitation from some of my colleagues over in South Korea, because they were organizing a meditation peace day by the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas. You know, you may have seen in the news that Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim fell in love. Well, that's what he says. But there was a rapprochement. There was an opportunity for some peace and some movement so that people weren't going to kill one another. And of course, I've been to South Korea many times. I have a bit of a following over there. But also that, you know, you're talking to many of the people who still have brothers and sisters and cousins they haven't seen for, 40, 50 years. And they imagine that you're separated, from a sister or brother for such a long time. You've grown up, apart, and you can't get to meet with. There's a lot of pain there. So anyway, when there was an opportunity to do something, I asked the monk, I said, yes, you can go over there. So I went over there just for 3 nights, to the demilitarized zone. It was supposed to be meditation leaders. Ajahn Brahm was there, and I was there, and a couple of us Taiwanese meditation master and local from the Jogje order, the Sion, and he was there too. So when I went over there, we just gave some talks. And sometimes, maybe it's because I did not understand the Korean language that well, I didn't realize what I was up for. Because they said there was going to be a session for walking meditation. And I was supposed to be the one leading the walking meditation. Because believe it or not, some of the other monks, they're about the same age as me, but so they're, believe it or not as fit as your Ajahn Brahm, believe it or not. So I said, yeah, I'm up for it. Do some walking meditation. And how far? Oh, about 10 kilometers. What? And for those monks who know me, how many times have you seen me walk 10 kilometers? Probably in the whole year, if you add up everything I've walked, it may not come to 10 kilometers. But anyway, I thought, well, why not? So, and because it was important, it was inside the demilitarized zone. So they'd arranged everything to get permission from the soldiers to actually to go inside. And just, 100 people at a time, because then they had to stop it, because everything had to be counted. It was very high security. And walk inside the DMZ. 6,000 of us went inside, and I was leading it. So number one, it's very dangerous. People think it's pretty safe, but there was I'm not so lying. There was lots of shooting, and I got shot many times. Click, click, click. With a camera and a video. That's what I meant by shooting. But it was a long distance. And one of the things which I remember, just kept on asking me, are you getting tired? I was not getting tired. And they asked, must be just, what are you doing? You're just walking. I was actually starting to walk fast. And some of the other, a couple of Sri Lankan monks were with me, and they could hardly keep up. Honestly. And I heard them saying, it's iddhipada, just its powers. It was a power, but a power of inspiration. You were doing something which was going to be useful, because sometimes people say, Buddhist monks, you go and talk, you sit down, you give teachings, you can do chanting, but what good is that? Are you doing something really useful? And that was something really useful. I got very inspired by that. That you could actually do something which, who knows, might make a difference. It certainly made a difference to those 6,000 people following me, walking through the DMZ. Certainly made a difference to those people who saw it on the, I think it was a Buddhist broadcasting company in Korea. Small things, who knows how that little by little, many things can add up to a sense of peace and reconciliation in that peninsula. So I was really inspired, thinking what you were doing. And the more inspired, the more energy you got, and the faster you walked. And I've noticed this many times in my life, that whenever you have, I didn't even have, it was really pretty dangerous because I never had any water with me. I didn't realize how far I was supposed to walk, but for about 3 hours. And it was in quite hot sunshine. But the inspiration got you through. And it was amazing just how, when you really get inspired, you get a boost of energy, natural. When you get depressed, you look at all the terrible things which go on in the world, all the corruption, the lying, the cheating and stuff. Of course, that really brings you down. You don't get energized at all. You get fed up. It's one of the reasons why, please, stop looking at the news unless you have to. Instead, just log into the Buddhist Society of Western Australia website, the YouTube. Much more inspiring. And it does produce a lot of energy for you. Why does that actually work? It just shows you that your body, your mind does have energy, but we just don't use it. Or we just try and make it from some artificial source, such as, just a cup of coffee or an energy drink or whatever, Red Bull. But, have I broken the rules by advertising? Oops. Anyway, but when you do really have some source of energy, amazing what you can do in life. Sometimes in the life of a Buddhist monk, sometimes it's not that easy. You can't sort of sometimes schedule your day. Sometimes things happen. Someone gets sick. You have to just go to the hospital to help somebody, or somebody rings up and they're having a crisis. Or there's all sorts of stuff which you have to respond to, especially if you're a senior monk. You just have to do it. You can't just say, I'm sorry, can you come back tomorrow? But my mother's having a heart attack. She's in hospital, she's not going to last another day. You can't say, I'll come tomorrow. When is the time? I don't ever say when I receive a call, your call is important to us. It will be answered at the first opportunity. So when there is a problem there, you have to respond. And sometimes the source of energy will come from some inspiration. One of the other things which I did during our range retreat was, many of you may know, apparently it was a long time ago now, 2004, I was awarded this John Curtin Medal for community service. And every year they give out a new award, a new medal. I think it's on, I should know this, I think it's in October the 10th or something, which was the time that John Curtin, he either died or he became the Prime Minister, the wartime Prime Minister of Australia. And they called it John Curtin Day. And even though, my medal was a long time ago, if at all possible, I try and take the morning off and to go to that ceremony. And the reason is because it always inspires me. Every time I go there, that you hear what they say, people's good actions which falls off the radar. These are not people who get sort of a Nobel Prize for physics, is really up there. It's not a person who wins the Brownlow Medal for football. It's not the person who just wins the election. These are people in the background who do incredible, selfless work for our community. And this year, one of the recipients was a woman, if I remember correctly. She was put into an orphanage, foster care when she was very young, and she had a terrible time, as many people do. And so she survived, and then when she survived, she had a family, and when her children grew up, she thought, what can I do, to help? So she started with fostering other kids, And then from there, she was so good at it, so energized, she gave all of her time, her life, to making sure that the foster care system in Western Australia was not going to follow the mistakes which she had endured as a foster kid when she was young. And so I think she's now head of foster care WA, the person who's running the organisation, the person who's spending so much of her life making sure that kids who don't have a home, kids who don't have a family, have one. You know, she had been there, she had suffered, she knows what it's like, but she also knew what the solutions were. And when I sort of heard that, I thought, wow, these are great people, people who are actually doing something, but you don't know about it. But it really inspired me. So you came away from a sort of a morning like that. There was another lady who was setting up orphanages over in Kenya. And, you know, it's wonderful, just the sort of stuff which goes on in our world, which you don't read about in the newspapers. All you read about in the newspapers are people who are basically making money out of the system, who are being selfish instead of selfless. People are not inspiring. And these were inspiring people. And when you hear those inspiring people and actually, you know, are listening to their stories, what it does, and I mentioned this to her afterwards, it makes you go away wanting to work harder, you know, do more, instead of just resting on your laurels and think, oh, I've already done my bit, let someone else do more. It inspires and energizes you. And that's one of the reasons why I hope, you know, you come here of a Friday evening instead of watching the TV. It's really great that you come and actually feel something really happening, something which is inspiring. Because you go away energized, uplifted. You know, sometimes we give talks about things like depression. You know, well, I said this a long time ago, one of the great antidotes to something like depression, you know, is meditation works, counseling works, sometimes the drugs work, but I don't know why that people don't see that there's something else which can work. Depression is a very low energy state. Why don't you go out and do something inspiring? Or be with other people who are inspiring. Pick up on their energy. Join a community. Do something. Instead of just sitting there and just be fed advice from a counsellor, drugs from a clinician, or being told what to do by somebody else. Just go out and do something. Be part of stuff. Because you do get so much energy being part of something which is inspiring. You do get so much uplift, and I'm not sure what studies have been done, but I'm sure that, you know, studies will just see what happens when somebody just stays at home, or they join sort of some soup kitchen, you know, in the morning, which helps some homeless people, or which goes out and just cleans the toilets at an aged facility, or does something there. You get a boost, an uplift of energy. You're actually doing something. And it's more than just a boost of energy. I was also telling some people a few days ago, and when I was a student, yeah, busy life as a student, but all my friends knew I was a Buddhist, and maybe because I didn't drink alcohol, that was a pretty giveaway, because everyone else was. But I had a couple of friends who were Christians, and we were talking one day, and they were telling me, that Christians, they're different than Buddhists, because Christians go out there and help others. You know, they do social service. So do Buddhists. I'm as good as you. It was total ego when they said they were going to volunteer once a week in the afternoon at the local institution for those with mental health problems and other sort of difficulties. I said, I didn't really want to go. Because they were going, I had to go. The old keeping up with the Joneses. In this case, keeping up with the Christians. Flying the flag for Buddhism. That was, okay, it was the wrong attitude, but that's what I was doing. And I went there and I thought I was just doing my goody-goody act, just doing a service to others. But of course, I got so much off that visit, of the 2 years that I visited that place. I was totally inspired by the end of it. And just one story, which I said this before, but I said this a couple of days ago. There was one day, I was feeling depressed when I arrived there. I'd just broken up with my girlfriend. And, you're English, stiff upper lip. Don't show your emotions. That's what I thought I was doing. By the way, this was way before I became a monk. Just in case sometimes. Anyway, so when I walked, but actually by this time my Christian friends had got too busy, they weren't going, but I kept on going, and it wasn't a case of trying to beat them or to compare myself with them. I went way past that a long time before, when this happened. I went there because I enjoyed it, I looked forward to it. And I was walking, from the bus stop, into this huge facility, and one of the people I got to know, he was Down syndrome, a fellow, and he came running towards me, really fast, without saying anything, put his hands right around me, gave me this huge hug, and said, "Oh, how are you?" And he knew, he picked it up straight away. I thought, how the heck do you do that? Because no one else knew that I was sad, depressed, because, you've broken up with a girlfriend. He knew straight away. And that's where I started learning. Before Daniel Coleman started writing his book on emotional intelligence, those people were my teachers of emotional intelligence. Because they were just so smart, so sensitive, to your feelings. So what started off as a service became an inspiration. And I can never forget, with a sort of beautiful sense of almost like emotional high, that the very last day, it wasn't actually the last day, but should have been the last day I was going there, it was an occupational therapy ward. I was helping out there. And of course, I've been going there for 2 years. They knew me so well. They just let me look after a group by myself. They trusted me 100%. So anyway, I was looking after one group for an hour, hour and a half. And then afterwards, tea time. It's English, always have tea. So I had a cup of tea, and then they gave me another. We look after the other group, for the second period. I said, yeah, sure. And maybe I was just so into just, helping out my friends with Down syndrome, I never realized what the staff were up to. At the very end, they finished early. I said, can you please come into the room? And all these Down syndrome kids I got to know, they're adults. All these Down syndrome friends I got to know over 2 years, all big smiles, and they made little presents for me. Because they said, we realised the final exams are this week, and you're not going to come again. We want to show our thanks to you. And all these little people I got to know for not amazing gifts, nothing would ever sell in any gift shop. But these were made by people with physical disabilities, with these huge emotional hearts, for me. And at the end of it, I remember saying, if you don't mind, may I ask something? I said, my exams don't start for another week. Can I come back next Thursday, please? They got the dates wrong, and I insisted on going back there, even though they already had the parting celebration, or whatever you call it, because I enjoyed it so much. And so that inspired me. It was not something which you did, and there's a service, and afterwards you put your feet up and think, I'm tired, I want to sort of just watch the TV or do something for myself. You got back and you were just full of energy, full of beans. And this was where you started to learning about when you have inspiration, It's amazing just how that boosts your energy. And lack of energy, low energy, is one of the main reasons for sort of depression. Even anxiety, grumpiness, you think, "Ugh." So that's one of the reasons why, if you do have depression, go and volunteer to clean the toilets. Go and volunteer to look after the desk. Go and volunteer to help with the parking at Dhammasara on Sunday. Volunteer. But when you do volunteer, don't just think, oh yeah, I've done my bit, for the Buddhist society or for the society. No, remember it. Celebrate it. Just keep thinking about it. Because I don't know why it is, we always keep thinking about our mistakes and the things wrong, the terrible things in society, and the Buddhist society, the toilets aren't clean, the Buddhist society, the website doesn't work, the Buddhist society, what else is wrong with the place? Or my partner, what's wrong with him? Or why is he like this? My female partner, why is... you really get depressed that way. Just think of the wonderful things you share together, the inspiring things. Because sometimes people do stuff which is totally unexpected, totally amazing and wonderful, and it brings this emotional energy up. Wow, there is a lot of good people in this world. I don't know if he came there. I thought he was Professor Josky. Did he actually come to give a talk here? Oh, he did excellent. Because I first saw him over in the John Curtin Medal Ceremony. Because he got the medal in 2005, the year after me. And so I thought, just as a duty, people had come to see me get a medal, so I should go and see other people get a medal. That's what I thought. But then when I went there, I thought, wow, this guy really put himself in danger of being rejected by his fellows in the medical fraternity, because he was really standing up for something he believed in, and it made a huge difference to people's lives. He was the fellow, he was the head of haematology at the time in Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, and, treating many people with cancers. But he realized there was something missing. The care, the kindness. Which is sometimes I see something missing in Buddhist centers. The care, the kindness. In meditation retreats. The care, the kindness. In monasteries. Oh, come on, you feel tired today, take a rest. Just general Buddhist compassion, which sometimes people just forget on the path to enlightenment. Enlightenment at all costs. Come on, this is it. Meditation, jhanas or bust. There's something, I don't know, maybe because I'm steeped in this tradition for such a long time, there's something very wrong with that forceful, ascetic, we're the real meditators. Come on, don't move. Cross your legs properly. No. Whatever. People think, oh, that's great, discipline, force. Well, that just gets people just so uptight. And there's something wrong with that. It doesn't work. And this fellow, Josky, saw that there was something missing in standard treatment for people with cancer in Charlie Gardner's, one of our main local hospitals. Kindness. Something simple. So what he did, not just recognize it, but doing something about it, he managed to find a couple of rooms in Charlie Gardner's, kick people out, he had the authority to do that, and take it over for alternative therapy. At the time, it's another ad, but I don't mind saying this ad, it was for the Brown's Dairy. I think they've stopped now, but it was the Brown's Alternative Therapy Centre. He got a sponsor from the milk people. And that was the sponsor, he got the rooms, and it meant anybody who was having any treatment for cancer, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, surgery or whatever, or just a checkup or whatever, they could go in those rooms for free and get all this, what he said, weird stuff. By which he meant things which usual hard-nosed doctors would say, it's just placebo, it's quack science. And what it was actually, talking about doctors and quack science, somebody told me a story. I was just recently here in Perth. It was about doctors, about this gentleman who answered the door, knock on the door one afternoon. You wouldn't believe it, there was this big 6-foot cockroach at the door. And he punched this man in the nose. And the man would just slam the door as soon as he could. Wonder what the heck was, he wasn't badly injured. And the next day, another knock at the door, opened the door, it was a big 6-foot cockroach again. Gave him a headbutt. And that really knocked him out. But who would actually believe that that happened? So he just bandaged himself up, and just the next day, knock on the door, he answered it a third time. It was that same big 6-foot cockroach. This time he had a knife and he stabbed the guy. So he couldn't sort of forget that. Had to go to hospital, get patched up, and the doctor said what happened. And when he said what happened, 6-foot cockroach had assaulted him 3 times. He said, that's to be expected. There's a nasty bug around. A nasty bug going around. That came from this monk this afternoon. He told me the nasty bug going around story. Anyway, back to Professor Josky. He's not a nasty bug, quite the opposite. That he managed to get all these homeopathy, yoga, Ayurvedic, reflexology, Reiki, all this sort of stuff, which sometimes, the medical practitioner said, it's just placebo, it doesn't work, don't do that. But he said, no, just do it. And sometimes you wonder why it works. Because he followed up and had a very measurable effect on an increase of people's health and well-being. Why? And I often think why is that it doesn't matter if the homeopathy, actually I tried that before and it's done amazing things, but whether it's foot massage or whether it's reflux, whatever it is, at the very least, this is the minimum, that somebody's being kind to you for half an hour, spending time with you, whether they're massaging your feet or doing Reiki or acupuncture, I don't know. They're being with you, caring for you. That by itself is very therapeutic. Someone's spending time with you. You've just been through some very painful, scary stuff, and someone is actually with you, talking with you, being with you, maybe even touching you, with foot massage or other massage. What a wonderful gift that is. And so, he put his reputation on the line for initiating something like that, and just good on him, it worked. Well done. So that is why, that inspiration, it makes other people think, wow, why am I so afraid of being judged by others? When it's something I know is really important, give it a try. Maybe it doesn't work, but at least you tried. And you follow that intuition, because a lot of the times, it works. There's something inside of you, some insight, some intuition. This is a really good thing. It doesn't hurt anybody. Can only just the very best waste their time, very worst waste their time, but who knows, it might actually do something really good. And so there are people like that who actually do it. And they are the inspirations of our world. And there's even the nun at the end over there. starting a bhikkhuni monastery in England. A lot of work. And you won't be able to do that unless you had the inspiration. That's some of my job, to inspire her, to support her, get it going. Look at this place. If you'd have known where we started from 35 years ago, 36 years, or roughly about that, a tiny little house in North Perth, number 4 Magnolia Street, if any of you want to check it out. Should have a little sign in here. This is the start of the Buddhist Society of West Australia. With Ajahn Brahm and I remember going in there and just looking at, there was no security, no trying to sort of find out, the membership list and everything. Everything was out in the open. So I looked and said, what's our bank account balance? And how much do we owe for the house? And I remember being so surprised and shocked that the house was worth $50,000 and we owed $49,000 and a bit to the bank. Absolutely no equity at all, basically. And that's where we started. And even, okay, here we go. There's all that other sort of stuff which was done on inspiration. Just Bodhinyana Monastery. Just going down, actually this is a bit of a hypocrite here, because this was just on a cup of coffee, because we were looking at places to buy land. Where's Dennis? Is he gone? He was there at the time. Looking for some land to get a monastery, and we couldn't find anything. Everything was just too expensive or impossible or not appropriate. And then on the way back, looking down south, he's over there, hi Den. Yeah, he knows this story. Coming back, we just, my fellow monk at the time, Ajahn Brahm, he said, I feel like a cup of coffee. Anyone in business, please remember this. Because previously, the real estate agent in Byford, he stopped there and he gave him a free cup of coffee. So we decided just to stop for a free cup of coffee. Because the guy, Charles, I remember his name, Charles Orlando, and he gave us a free cup of coffee. Again, second time. We were just basically not looking anymore, fed up for the day. And there was a guy in the back said, I remember in the back of Serpentine somewhere there's a big property, but the owner couldn't sell it, no one wanted it. And of course, that is now Bodhinyana Monastery. About Dhammasara, the Katina on Sunday, that place, again, Bianca, she's not here this evening, with her partner Ron, going down Gitchiganup, there was a 30-acre property. And just went down there, and it was, come on, you can't treat nuns like that. A small little place, really noisy. But on the way there was another property, 583 acres of solitude. And I said, let's have a look. I said, no way, we can't afford that. 30 acres is way above our... No, let's have a look, it doesn't cost anything to look. And of course, eventually, we bought it. That's Dhammasara. If you don't know how that happened, I went there with another monk an hour before. We really did some chanting. We really laid it on thick. Powerful super chanting to try and get the price down. And it worked. We got it. Now, don't you try that if you're trying to buy a house or a property. Don't invite the monks first of all. Please, Ajahn Brahm, can you do some chanting? Please, please, please. My first book, Open the Door of Your Heart. The story behind that. You can buy a copy in the library. And there is so many copies in other languages, because somebody was asking for the German copy, the Kuh der Weinte, the cow that cried. And it's a legitimate bestseller over in Germany. And anyway, what do you do? Write a book? Nah, it's too much hard work. Yeah, actually, I'm a very lazy monk. If I don't have to, I don't really want to. So when somebody asked me, all those stories, can you please write them down in a book? I said, nah, too much work. But the person who asked me, she had gone through a divorce. of course I've never been through a divorce, but you can actually, so many times it just really tears you apart. Your plans, your dreams for a future are just all there one moment, the next moment they're in tatters, and you get very depressed. And she got suicidal many times. But the stories, like 2 bad bricks in the wall, open the door of your heart, all those little stories, they pulled her through. So she survived. She said, Ajahn Brahm, look, it's almost like a crime that you don't write those stories down and spread them out more widely. And so I said, yeah, I know, but I'm really busy. But this lady outsmarted me. Wherever she is, well done. Because what she did, she didn't argue with me. She just wrote out the stories herself and sent them to me. And when I read them, the English was so bad. The structure was just all over the place. I was saying, I can't let this be published in my name. So I said, okay, I better do it. And I did. But it was much easier than I thought. And I mentioned that because we managed to find the manuscript from Hugh Sykes. He bought it the other day, the original manuscript, and it was all written out by hand. No computer. And I just did 1 story a day, an hour maybe, actually sometimes 2 stories. Just writing it out, just hardly any mistakes. By long-handed. So it was much easier than I thought. Whenever you're doing anything, you get in the zone, do some meditation, get really peaceful, you just write. No pressure for an hour, and then put it away. You don't worry about it. Trouble with people that sometimes when they get to do something, they have to finish. They're compulsive to finish. For me, it was like quality was more important than when I finished, to make sure that I felt happy doing it. It just flowed. Just wrote and just hardly any mistakes. Flow. And I gave it. And that's actually the book itself. Hardly any editing. And then I gave it to good old Ron Story, his ashes are buried round the back here, and he typed it up for me. But then what do? You got a CD, the old CDs with the book on it. So I don't know any publishers. So you know what happened? This is inspirational stuff. He managed to give it to me the day before I was flying off to Melbourne, to give some talks. And when I went to Melbourne, I just had it in my bag. This thing over here, just in case. And the first talk just landed, and I went to give a talk that afternoon, just on landing, at Melbourne University. Only a small group. But after giving the talk, this lady, like people come and talk to you afterwards, and this lady came up and said, "Oh, Ajahn Brahm, that's a really nice talk." She was actually mostly from a Tibetan Buddhist tradition, but she said, "Oh, but I'm in the publishing industry. If ever you have a book, please let me know first of all." And I just gave it to her. And she was shocked. And it was just there. And so sometimes that's your life. Inspiring things happen in life. And that uplifts you. It means it can be done. Who knows? I know with what's her name? Harry Potter author, J.K. Rowling, many times that she had to submit her novel, Harry Potter, to her, and many times it rejected. But for a good book like Open the Door of Your Heart, you don't even have to send it to a publisher. They come and find you. And I must say that actually once it was translated into Indonesian, the Chaching books, any Indonesians here. And I did actually go into the bookshop once, and they have the bookshops, the 10 top bestsellers. Number 2 was Harry Potter. Number 1 was Opening the Door of Your Heart. That was such. Anyway, it's not number 1 anymore. But sometimes that inspires you. And when you get inspiration, you don't get tired. And when you get inspiration, you can give 50-minute talk like it's nothing. When you get inspiration, sometimes you can go and clean or walk in the demilitarized zone, or put your reputation on the line and ordain bhikkhunis, or get a center for alternative therapy for people suffering with diseases, or just start a bhikkhuni monastery. It's amazing what you can do. Inspiration, and you know what that inspiration is. You've had it many times, you've seen it, you've felt it, but sometimes we don't develop it and cultivate it. And my goodness, that often, if you want to meditate really deeply, sometimes people say, it's your posture, it's what you meditate on, the instructor, the place. Don't forget inspiration as an amazing source of power which drives you deep into meditation. That's why, those few times, okay, I'll tell this story. I usually tell this story at meditation retreats. It's a nice place to end this little talk, but when Ajahn Chah would give talks in Thailand, he was my teacher for 9 years, when he was still very much alive and speaking, and sometimes it's amazing living with such an amazing teacher that sometimes he was incredibly boring. And I say that with a lot of respect. Sometimes you'd be sitting there, same old stuff, and it didn't really really inspire you, but it was worth it, because after 3 or 4 hours of talking, he'd say something which was really worthwhile. Just like when you dig for gold in Western Australia in the mine, you dig, and maybe just 3 or 4 hours you find a tiny little nugget, and it's worth it, worth all the effort. Or a tiny piece of diamond. And that's why people do mine. There's lots of stuff left over which is useless for them. But every time, this is just such an amazing little bit of teaching. So he would do that, and sometimes that people are just really on song. They're just really on their game, and sometimes they rise to sort of amazing heights of inspiring Dhamma talks. And so this was one occasion when he gave this amazing Dhamma talk. And I was experienced enough at the time to be able it was time they had saunas in those days. Anyone who thinks that saunas were invented in Sweden, wrong. They used to have saunas in Buddhist temples in the time of the Buddha. So anyway, we built a sauna for Ajahn Chah just to get him to go to the monastery. So we built the sauna. I remember I laid a lot of those bricks in that sauna. They built another one since, but the one which I was involved in, we built that sauna up, and so we could invite Ajahn Chah, getting quite sick towards the time when he was about to have his stroke. Then put him in, looked after him, gave him a sauna, but he'd always give a Dhamma talk beforehand. And this particular time, he gave a talk, really amazing talk. You feel so much energy. You can't go to sleep. You just want to sit there and just enjoy it. And so the other monks would do their duties and look after Ajahn Chah. I just sat around the back of the temple and just blissed out. If you want to get good meditation, really get sort of some inspiration first of all, and you're sitting there and wow, it's so easy. Watch your breath. It's just there. And it's beautiful and joyful. The mind is just so happy. The happiness is an important part of meditation. And the happiness of inspiration is one of the purest types of happy energy. So I was sitting there for maybe a couple of hours, and as soon as you came out, sometimes you feel so much gratitude for people who inspire you and teach you, and that's what I felt. So much gratitude for Ajahn Chah. Maybe I can help him a little bit. So I walked off towards the sauna, and I was a bit disappointed. Well, it can't be really disappointed. You're so high after a good meditation. And then he was coming the opposite direction. He'd already finished his sauna, dressed, and there was a couple of Thai people, his driver and another attendant, lay people, were walking with him. And the path was very narrow. We were going to cross. And that's when he looked. I can't say this about Ajahn Chah. He looked at me and he really read my mind. And when people do such things like that, okay, how can you explain it? You felt him in my own mind. I knew he was in there checking me out. You felt. How do you know that, Ajahn Brahm? I don't know, but that's the experience. Really clear. But for once, I was very happy to invite him into my mind, because my mind was actually quite good at that time. Other times, I said, no, wait, no, please, lock the door, come another time, please. And then, like, sometimes, you don't want your room checked out by anybody because you're not ready yet, it's a bit dirty, or the health inspector comes to the monastery, oh, please don't have a look over there. But this time, my mind was just so beautiful. Hey, come wherever you want to go in there. And then afterwards, he looked at me, and that was the time he looked at me really fiercely, but kindly, just really grabbing your attention. And he said, "Brahma, fierce but kind, but so you couldn't move. Why?" In Thai, "Tamai." Why? And he grabbed me he was trying to enlighten me. He knew my mind was really, really peaceful. He really wanted to, okay, let's try and help this stupid Westerner. Why? A really deep question. And I answered, "I don't know." Maruka. And the great teachers done exactly what you did. They just laughed. I felt, so stupid. And I suppose I have a great degree from Cambridge, and I was so stupid in the presence of such great monks. And then he screwed his face up again. "Brahma, I'll tell you the answer." And I was really interested. I was going to get the answer to the question why from one of the greatest monks in Thailand at that time. Someone you could trust, was really, really wise. I answered the question why. He looked at me, he said, "The answer is Mai Miarai," which a few Thais here will know means there's nothing. There's nothing. And he looked at me again and said, "Do you understand?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "No, you don't." And he walked away, and that was the end of it. So thank you again for listening this evening. Are there any questions about the talk this evening? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. That's all we got here. Okay, from UK, from Perth, from USA. Okay, first question. What would someone do when meditation makes them so relaxed they just want to sleep? How to generate energy in meditation? Just go to sleep first. You are sleep deprived. So you go to sleep, then when you wake up afterwards, you've got the physical energy. This is the physical energy problem. Been doing too much. And so many people in our world have physical, psychological, emotional, relationship problems because they're exhausted. So first of all, do the obvious, the easy way. There's one of our, she's probably listening, one of our members of our 3-month range retreat over in Jhana Grove, she thought she had a stroke because, she started really getting very sick. We took her to the hospital. The obvious, dehydration. She wanted to meditate for long periods of time, and if you just have water, you have to go to the loo. And so she thought, I better not drink that much. And sometimes people forget it's the easy things, the obvious solutions are sometimes the best. And after that, she was fine. Just need dehydration. But anyway, if you're so relaxed, you just want to sleep. When you get up, you're relaxed, rested, then meditate. And then you get so relaxed in body and mind that once the body is relaxed, then the mind will relax too and go into very deep meditations. Even the Buddha, before he became enlightened, his first 5 disciples abandoned him because he was eating, sleeping, washing, resting. And they said, you're just giving in, you're not struggling, you're not striving anymore. But the Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, had confidence. He was going against what other people were telling him to do. He followed his insights, his intuition, you might call it. Rested, relaxed, had a good meal before he sat under the Bodhi tree and became a Buddha. So, meditation is so relaxed, it means you need to sleep. If the body is relaxed, then you can, after sleeping, brain is just regenerated, then you go and meditate and it's very easy. Second question, where should one start to overcome an abundance of energy and inspiration, so much so it causes panic as there's not enough time to achieve all one's obligations? Just don't be under the thumb of other people with their obligations. So sometimes, why do you allow other people to control you? What's your main obligation? Obligation is to be healthy, peaceful. What other jobs have you got to do? So sometimes you get these, here we go, skillful means. Sometimes when people ask me, oh, can you come to this ceremony tomorrow, or can you have some counselling tomorrow? And I usually say, well, I'll think about it. Get back to me. Which is Ajahn Brahm speak to say, no, but I don't want to disappoint you. You've got to be kind to yourself. In other words, if you keep working, you get burnt out. So there are times when I know I need a rest. When I know I need a rest, right, that's it, I'm going back to my hut, going to my cave. I was telling this to people the other day that one thing which I really respect United States for, they've called their, what we call like toilets, WCs, water closets, whatever you call it, the loo, the bog. This is a total aside. One of these friends who lived next door to me in the student accommodation from Ukraine, but he was actually from Leeds, Yorkshire man. And as soon as he went into Cambridge University, Emmanuel College, the first thing he said when he arrived was, "Where's the bog then?" If you understand, where's the toilet? But he said it in such a thick accent, they looked at him and said, where are you from? You know, what sort of planet are you from? But anyway, all those words for toilet, in United States they call it restroom. What a wonderful name it is. So, if you are tired, if you are stressed, where should you go? The restroom. And so when you enter the restroom, you find a nice empty cubicle, you sit there and meditate in the restroom. And if your boss comes and says afterwards, you've been in there for 20 minutes. You said, well, I was constipated. Oh, well, really, okay. And you're not breaking your precepts, you're telling the truth. It wasn't your bowels were constipated, it was your brain constipated. So, obligations. Who signs up for those obligations? You do. You make them obligations. Not other people do. And sometimes, if it's at work, what they want is productivity. How much do you produce at the end of the day? And you will find if you rest in the restroom, take many breaks because you've got chronic constipation, you actually get more work done. It's called efficiency. It is win-win. So you cause panic. That doesn't help you achieve your obligations. So if you've got an abundance of energy and inspiration, great. But it's like, as I said on during the retreat, it's like you've been driving here we go again, another ad, a Honda, and somebody gives you a Ferrari. Sports car, super powerful. Vroom! sometimes you don't know just how to use that much power. Boom! That's what it feels like in deep meditation sometimes. Sometimes your brain, for some of you it's like one of those disability vehicles for the elderly. It's really hard to get it going. And it's also low on battery. But sometimes after good meditation, boom, you got this superpower Ferrari. Whoa! And hey, I used to do that. One of our monks once, he told me his mate, he was in England, and he managed to buy a Spitfire engine, from a sale yard. Spitfire, these big, powerful, for aircraft engines. And he was a bit of a sort of a petrol head, so he actually got an old car, and he put the Ferrari engine in the back. It took half the car to put it in there, and it was like an old bomb of a car. But he said what he would do, he'd be driving down the motorway in England, just in this old car, and he'd see like either a police car or some fancy sports car, and he would overtake him. And sometimes people in like sports car being overtaken by an old bomb of a car, and think, no, I'm not allowing that. They want to sort of overtake him, and he would allow that a couple of times. I shouldn't say this, but anyway, the police car would overtake him and try and pull him over, and then he'd put his foot down with a Spitfire engine, vroom, and the police car wouldn't see him again. I don't know why people do that. I don't know why I think that story was really cool, but anyway, it's a stupid story. But it's just about how that sometimes your meditation, right? You got a Ferrari, and soon you get to know how to use it. So abundance of energy and inspiration, amazing. Use it. Focus it and just channel it and just make it so you can whatever your obligation is, you can actually get it done. Writing a letter, it's so easy because all the words come into place, like writing that book. So easy. Anyway, from the USA, is there a way in which energy from defilements can be transformed and redirected towards wholesome thoughts and actions? Yeah, sure. Because sometimes, what is the defilements? You think like greed, I want something. And say, yeah, what do you want? Or you get angry. I'm really angry at, I don't know who, me, telling bad jokes or something. But let's channel that energy because it gets you. So don't use it for anything negative. You've got energy. Okay, so how am I going to make a better world? How can I make, instead of getting angry at the politics, how can I make it a better system? So instead of I always say, instead of complaining about the darkness, light a candle. Sometimes the negativity, sometimes the anger, sometimes the disappointment. Great. That's the old simile, that is the dung, the shit, to be able to dig in under the mango tree. That's defilements, the suffering of life. Dig it in, because under the mango tree, as I've often said, 1 year later, your mangoes will be sweeter and juicier than every other year, because you've dug in the defilements. But you must always remember, as I finish off this talk, before everybody walks out, already some have, when you eat that mango, which is sweeter and juicier because of all the defilements of your life, the anger, the disappointments, the frustration you've dug in, when you eat that mango, and it's so sweet, so juicy, the juice starts to drip down your cheek. You must always remember what you are really eating. You're eating shit. Transformed into juicy, sweet mango. That is how you transform the energy of defilements towards something wholesome and wonderful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, that's enough for tonight. So, is there any questions here? No, thank you. So, if you have any questions, you can come up afterwards. But let's now pay respects to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Then we can have a free. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhan Bhagavantak Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namassami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangha Namami